Good morning. I think we're live. Yes. Anybody there? Can't tell if anybody's there or not yet. I think we're live though. So if we are, good morning everybody. It's Friday. I just thought today I'll jump on here. There's been so much going on that I think it just deserves a little bit of a 5-minute update because there's just so much going on. So I thought I'd jump on here and have a bit of a share. Now, the thing that really got me awake this morning, and I couldn't sleep much at all, just when my voice is all croaky, but I was thinking about these two elderly women, Agnes Lee and Gladys. Gladys is 95. I met her recently, but both of them got me thinking about transformation. Weird, I know, but Agnes, she moved here from Hong Kong many years ago, and she's retired now. But she worked for Nestle, and not many people know this story, but she was the creator of that very famous train cake and the duck cake. And it was literally the most iconic cake that changed and transformed kitchens across Australia. I wasn't here back then when it all started, but most people that you speak to today, who are probably over 35 in Australia, they know that famous Women's Weekly magazine with the train cake on it. Everyone knows that. I know this because even Nick Bell, who's on the Celebrity Apprentice, he told me this week that he used to sit on the settee at home as a kid and look at that book. So transformation there, huge. And then this one killed me. Gladys. Now, Gladys, wow. I mean, talk about change and transformation. She got married 4 times. And I said to her, Gladys, she's 95 or something like that. I said, Gladys, why and who, what on earth possessed you to get married 4 times? She said, well, first I married a banker. She said, then I married a circus ringmaster. She said, then I married a vicar. And then I think it was an undertaker. And she told me that change is always hard at first and it's messy in the middle, but it's beautiful at the end. And I said to her, why did you marry such diversity? And she said, well, I married 1 for the money, 2 for the show, 3 to get ready, and 4 to go. So now, if you haven't been awake, there's a lot of change in the markets that are happening. And like I always say, you know, when the markets are crashing, opportunity comes knocking. And I think if you're a tech company now, there are thousands out there that are venture capital backed, and they're being told to cut staff, cut costs, cut. Survive, not thrive, I think, has become the new normal for these guys now. So the markets, obviously, the venture capital markets are going through a bit of a tough time. But here's a tip. You can't stop the clock to save time, and you can't cut cost to grow a company. So companies that lay off employees and cut costs because they're not profitable or don't have a clear path to profitability, they'll try and lower the burn and extend the runway. That's a survival tactic. That's not a strategic move at all. In my opinion, and I've done a little bit of reading on all of this, but I think this is how the downturn is going to play out, just a little bit like how COVID did. It's going to go in three ways. The first way is that after 30 or 90 days of slamming on the brakes and cutting costs, companies are going to realize that the show really does have to go on. The second thing that's going to happen is they're going to realize it's actually dangerous to sit there and hoard cash. And this happened during COVID. And the third thing that they're going to do is they're going to start to develop a new plan for how to win in this new climate. And this is exactly what happened during COVID. It's exactly the same thing. And with that new strategic direction, these companies are going to go through a period of, call it accelerated innovation, with new programs where they'll basically end up in the same place where they were heading, but they'll get there faster because the situation forced them to take some action. And that is why economic slowdowns literally create some of the biggest opportunities and business opportunities and career growth. I mean, most startups and companies get stuck in phase 1 or 2. They'll sit down, they'll wait, they'll talk about it, they'll resist it, they'll never take any action. And that could have made the biggest difference to them. And I think what happens in all the situations with these downturns is that it creates opportunities for innovators, for challengers, or for like us, new category creators to move fast and capitalize on it. I don't know if anybody remembers the 2008 crash. I'm sure you do, but Uber came out of that. And I can't help but think what's happening now is very, very similar. There's going to be a lot of weeding out of companies and new ones are going to rise up. Now, marketing, again, losing my voice here. This is all the drinking I did the other night with Biden. I think account-based marketing, I'm thinking we're obviously, we sort of aligned to the marketing place. So I think about account-based marketing a lot, literally because it solves problems for both sides, for both business and business leaders and for sales. It makes logical sense that the two can actually get together and find each other and find a way as quickly and as easy as possible to have conversations. Because generating sort of new discovery connections that add value to everyone is also where peace and happiness and wellness at work actually lives. And I think a lot of the time, and I'm not being biased, but that's where the magic happens. I think this downturn, you're going to start to see marketing budgets are going to get reduced. Those conferences that you're all going to now, you're all bouncing back, having a great time at, I think they're going to get scaled back. I think those lunch and learns, I'm not going to call them snouts in the trough, but those lunch and learns are going to get scrutinized a lot more. I definitely think that. I think those SDRs and all that $1 million that you're spending on SEO with Google, that's going to get looked at because this is a downturn. This is what happens. Marketing plans are going to be challenged and they're going to be looked at and said, okay, we spent $10,000 there. What's the ROI? You need to now start to think about where am I going to get the best ROI for my dollars that I'm spending? Now, again, I'm not biased, but I'm not saying, Meat Magic has the best ROI in Australia, but I'd say we're definitely in the top one. Now, hold on. Someone's at the door. Okay, so yeah, I think we're definitely in the top one. So marketing budgets are going to get reduced. Conferences and all that sort of stuff is going to get scaled back. The good thing is that the hybrid work model is actually here to stay. Okay, people are going to stay working from home. They're going to come to the office sometimes. It's going to happen. Help in my opinion, when a buyer and a supplier gets together, there's two sides of that market there, and to help each side find each other, and having a fast connection so the two can find that value, that's a great thing to do, and I think it's important right now. Here's an example of this. A couple of weeks back, I had a conversation with a state government CIO, and he recently told me about why he chooses to meet new suppliers via our model. Now, it solves for him current problems and it helps him with his future state planning. What I mean by that is he's got his day-to-day run operation, but he's also got his future state where he wants to get to, where he wants to take his infrastructure and all that technology towards. The biggest thing that came out of this conversation for me was that it actually helps him attract and retain and incentivize new staff. So his current staff, it actually helps with him. It incentivizes and inspires new people to come and actually work with him. And that's a really cool thing. Everybody complains about meetings and not having enough time. But I think if you start to add value in those meetings, you start to get things done a lot easier. If you start looking at what you're doing with your time, you'll realize that a lot of those meetings have actually, they shouldn't have happened. I think even Ariana Huffington, she fell over from burnout. This is the Huffington Post lady, founder. She fell over from burnout and broke her jaw from too many meetings. Her new business, I think, is called Thrive. And that's aimed, I think, at making your time at work, making you feel better at work, not in back-to-back meetings all the time. I think just because you're at work, it doesn't mean you're getting work done. I think we actually waste a lot of time at work. I think most people are drowning in emails. Most of them are stuck in dead-end meetings and constantly interrupted. But meetings are a fact of life. They're not going to go away. But I think research also shows now that Monday is the least favorite meeting day. I reckon we can change that to Magic Mondays and make meetings on Mondays way better than they currently are. I think if you look at executives, or business leaders, they say that 45% of their meetings actually serve no purpose whatsoever. And I don't know if anyone's looked at that Atlassian survey recently. Those results were nuts. So Atlassian did an internal survey with all their staff. The outcomes were 62 meetings per month was what the average employee had. Half of them were pointless. That's 31 hours a month, which was wasted in pointless meetings. The actual cost of that across all of the American companies, so all the meetings that shouldn't have happened, is $37 billion. And I mean, here at home, I imagine if meetings could just have a purpose, have some outcome. So rather than walking into that meeting and sitting there falling asleep, because people do fall asleep and daydream in meetings. Here at home, let's say, for example, let's say you went to work and imagine if a meeting at work funded a full scholarship in perpetuity for an Indigenous female to learn to become a cybersecurity expert. How would you feel about contributing towards that from a meeting? I mean, not only is that closing the skills gap in cybersecurity, but it's actually getting behind women in tech, and it's showing respect to our First Nations. I think every meeting can have an impact like that. I mean, most companies have a reconciliation and action plan. Most companies have KPIs to address that. Well, come here. I was recently lucky enough to attend the Supply Nations dinners with a good friend of mine, Neil Templeman from Biden, where Jack Rees won the Entrepreneur of the Year. Well done, Jack. Absolutely a brilliant night. Really, really proud that Meet Magic can help connect Badem for amazing conversations. But those meetings and the impact that you're making literally can happen through meetings. One recent example of this was a CEO of one of the largest New South Wales government agencies reached out to me to get involved. And that tells me that there's something happening with meetings. They're sick and tired of ones that should have been a text, should have been an email. And so all of a sudden now we're starting to get some really good traction with government agencies and enterprise market. Okay, I better wrap this up because I've got to get to the city, and I've actually got to go and see a robot humanoid called Pepper. Yeah, I know, crazy stuff. I'm living on the edge here. Anyway, here's some things. This is a request for you. If you've got a cybersecurity project and you want to get involved or have that project, support your reconciliation action plan or your KPI targets, there is a way of doing some good, and we can actually help with that. If anyone's thinking also of moving to the cloud, to Azure, and you've got plans to move off premise to the cloud, we've got an opportunity for someone to be a part of something really, really exciting. So get in touch with me to talk about that. Over the next week or so, I'm also very excited about this. I'm going to be sharing some exciting news about our platform, which is soon to be launched, which is next level. This is the opportunity that's rising up out of the ashes from tough times. But get in touch with me if you want to talk about that. And I'm going to be announcing a new CTO and a new CISO who's going to be joining us. Okay, finally, last but not least, before I bugger off, if you have any leftover MDF, they call it market development funds. I think MDF was something that went on side tops in England. Anyway, MDF, marketing distribution funds, I think they call it. If you've got any marketing budgets that are left over from this year and you want to, if you're going to lose it, if you don't use it, come and talk to Rebecca, and we can help you pre-purchase some of these meetings on our platform with some of the executives and make a difference, and you'll get a better ROI. And if you're a business leader and you want to get on board with us to help you with your reconciliation action plans or your KPIs around that, DM me or Vicky, our head of customer experience, and let's go and make meetings better and make some impact. Right, I'm off now to make a train cake. Have a good weekend. See you later. Stop.